everyone, welcome back to the My Favorite Things YouTube channel. I'm Karolyn and I'm dropping in today to share a process video for a cutie patootie interactive card that I created featuring the new frosted cupcake dynamics. I was inspired by this month's birthday project challenge, which is to add a gift card in a fun and unexpected way. So away I went to make that happen. I used an oldie but a goodie double slider loop mechanism to have some candles and the gift card pop up when I tug on the pull tab. It's super easy, and again, another way to use the double slider loop mechanism. I die cut all the pieces of the frosted cupcake dynamics off camera. I used snow cone cardstock for the frosting, and I die cut the cupcake liner from smooth white cardstock and some yellow polka dot pattern paper from the Summertime Polka Dot 6x6 paper pack. I also die cut the candles from smooth white and the layers of the candles from lemon drop, summer splash, and Tickled pink cardstock. I'm adhering the polka dot paper to the white cupcake liner, just to add some stability to the die cut. Next, I want to add a little ink blending to the frosting in its layers to give it a little more dimension. So I'm applying a light layer of summer splash with my ink blending brush. I find it easiest to do this type of ink blending of little die cuts if I use a piece of Post-it tape to hold it in place while I'm doing the ink blending. And now I can add the die cut layers to the cupcake frosting, and I'm doing that with my glue pen. Normally, I would use foam tape to add the dimension to a die cut like this, but honestly, adhering the layers together adds the perfect amount of dimension already without adding the bulk of foam tape. And since there's a lot going on with the mechanism, the less bulk there is, the better. I did decide to add the layers of the cupcake liner to the cupcake die cut with thin 3D foam squares because I felt like the dimension got lost in the pattern. So popping up the 3 layers with thinner foam squares worked to show off the dimension without too much bulk. It's all about balance, people. I love me some dimension, but you can do it however you like it. One of the great features of the frosted cupcake dynamics is that when you die cut the pieces, you also get some scored lines to show you where the other pieces go. They're a little hard to see in my video, but they're there. And they were a great help to these tired old eyes. I have a hard time seeing my hand in front of my face, so having those provided score lines really helps me put things where they're meant to be, especially with the little pieces like these that I'm adding to the candles. And when you get to be my age, any help along the way is much appreciated. Okay, now that the cupcake is assembled, let's move on to our mechanism. I die cut a pull tab using the pull tab die from the Meet in the Middle dynamics. If you don't have that set of dies, you can trim 2 strips of cardstock that measure 5 1/4 inches by 3/4 of an inch. I decided to adhere 2 together to add a bit more stability, since I'd be tugging a little harder than normal to activate the mechanism. Next, I trimmed a 4-inch by 5 1/4 inch piece of light aqua pattern paper from the Buffalo Bright 6x6 paper pack, and I'm adhering that to a smooth white panel with the same measurements. Off camera, I die cut an image panel from smooth white cardstock using the second to the largest of the stitched mini scallop rectangle STAX dynamics. I'm centering that scallop panel onto the plaid panel so that I can get an idea of where my mechanism will be. Once I have it in place, I'll mark a few of the edges with my pencil. These marks will help me to correctly place the smallest of the dies from the double slider loop slots dynamics. And once I have it secured with a couple of pieces of washi tape, I'll die cut the slots off camera. And before I start assembling the mechanism, I want to stamp my sentiment. I chose one from all the cupcake stamp set. I've placed the plaid panel into my mini MISTI, and I'm inking up the sentiment with some Summer Splash dye ink. I stamped it a few times just to make sure the sentiment didn't get lost in the pattern paper. And now we can assemble our mechanism. I trimmed a 1/2-inch strip from a heavy-duty Ziploc bag to create my loop, and I used my scissors to trim off the zipper part of the Ziploc. Then I'll feed the ends of the plastic through the slots to the back of the plaid panel. I'll pull the 2 ends together so that they overlap, and I'll leave a slight amount of slack so that the loop will slide freely. Then I'll use my Tim Holtz tiny attacher to staple the 2 ends together, and I'll trim off the excess with my scissors. Then I'll attach the pull tab to the loop, making sure to leave the end of the pull tab extended about 1/4 of an inch from the bottom edge of the panel, and I'll use my tiny attacher again to staple it to the loop. I know you've seen me do this process many times. The double slider loop mechanism is pretty basic. and done pretty much the same every single time. But it can be used in so many different ways, which is why I love it so much. Okay, now I need to do a little bit more planning. I want the gift card to pop out from behind the scallop panel, and I want the candles to pop out from behind the cupcake. But I want all of that to be hidden behind the scenes until you pull the pull tab. So I'm positioning the cupcake where I want it to be on the scallop panel, and I'll use my pencil to trace the outside edge of the frosting. I'll position the frosting die on top of the frosting die cut. I'll secure it in place with a piece of washi tape, and then I'll slide that die cut out of the way. I want to create a small opening behind the frosting, so I'll do a partial die cut by positioning my die cutting plate over the portion of the die that I want to cut out, and I'll run that through my die cutting machine. And then I'll use a straight edge ruler and a craft knife to cut from one side of the frosting to the other. My knife wasn't super sharp, so I used my scissors to cut away that frosting area to create my opening for the candles. Next, I die cut what I call a collar from printer paper using the collar die from the Lunch Party Die-namics. If you don't have those dies, you can trim a strip that measures 2 3/8 inches by 1/4 inch from lightweight paper. I folded it on the provided score lines, and I'll adhere it together with my liquid glue pen. And then I'll add more liquid adhesive to the back of the collar, and I'll use my tweezers to slide the collar onto the end of the pull tab, and I'll secure it to the back of the plaid panel. Here, I'm adhering some 1/4 inch double-sided tape to the back of each of the candles, and I'll adhere each of those to a 1/4 inch strip of acetate. I thought this would be the easiest way to adhere all 3 candles together and to the loop without having any adhesive interfere with the movement of the mechanism. Once I have all 3 candles stuck to the acetate strip, I'll adhere another piece of double-sided tape to the bottom edge of the loop, making sure to carefully trim away any stray adhesive. I'll remove the liner paper, and I'll secure the assembled acetate strip to the loop. And now for the fun part. Check out that cute Starbucks card. It was a happy accident that the color scheme of the gift card matched the color scheme of my project. Okay, so you saw that when I pulled down on the pull tab, the candles went up, which is exactly what's supposed to happen. Now I want to adhere the gift card to the loop because the candles in the gift card are supposed to move at the same time but appear in different locations. So I adhered another piece of double-sided tape to the loop, just above the area where I adhered the candles, again making sure to trim away any stray tape. And then I'll adhere the bottom edge of the gift card to the loop. It'll be stuck to the loop, but not so stuck that the recipient can't lift it out and away from the card for use. I didn't show this on camera, but I adhered some foam squares to the back of the scallop panel, making sure not to put any at the top of the panel where the gift card needs to pop out. I'll position it over the candles and use my tweezers to lift the candles slightly away from the loop and through that opening that we created earlier. Once I have everything positioned, I can adhere the scallop panel to the plaid panel. And now I can adhere the frosting to the scallop panel so that it covers up that opening. Notice that I only placed foam squares on the left and right side of the bottom edge of the frosting to leave plenty of room for those candles to pop out. I've added foam squares to the back of the assembled cupcake liner, and I can now adhere that to the scallop panel too. To tie the sentiment in with a card, I die cut some sprinkles from Snow Cone, Lemon Drop, Tickled Pink, and Summer Splash cardstock using the dies from the Cupcake and Sprinkles Die-namics. I adhered each of them with my liquid glue pen. I added some foam squares to the back of the assembled image panel, making sure not to put any in a place that would interfere with the movement of the mechanism, and I adhered it to an A2 top folding smooth white card base. I added the word pull from the interactive label stamp set to the end of the pull tab using Summer Splash dye ink. And I didn't catch it on film, but I colored the flames of the candles with my Cupcake markers. And now that it's all assembled, you can see that when I tug on the pull tab, the candles in the gift card pop out simultaneously, but in different locations, just as I had hoped. The double slider loop mechanism is so versatile, and this is just one of the ways that it serves to surprise a lucky birthday girl or boy. That's it for me today, friends. I hope you'll give this new way of using the double slider loop mechanism a try for yourself. Be sure and subscribe to the MFT YouTube channel for more creative goodies that we share here on a regular basis. Thanks for watching and have a great day.